tonight.
2nd of August, the promised opening date, and nothing.
People in a small Saskatchewan town are furious and fighting to get back some of their health services after a stroke of bad luck last year. Also, on those dark and stormy nights, why do some thunderstorms skip around major cities? We have the answer. Plus,
we might be a love story, though not one you would see.
As Regina Folk Festival organizers get ready to open the gates tomorrow, we check in with a local performer.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, August the 4th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Several towns in Saskatchewan are fighting hard to save health services in their communities. In the case of Balcarres, northeast of Regina, a stroke of bad luck forced the closure of its lab clinic last year. The town has been pushing the province to get services restored ever since. Alexander Kwan has the latest.
A small town in Saskatchewan is fuming after it has gone nearly 9 months without laboratory services. The town of Balcarres says it can't get any answers on when services will resume. It has even taken the rare move of filing a Freedom of Information request just to get information, but it's still waiting.
Frustrating is one word for it, I guess.
Now, Town Mayor Kirby Korchinski is going public with her concerns.
Well, really, we keep kind of getting spun around from one to the other, from SHA to the minister's office.
The trouble began last year when a vehicle slammed into the side of the town's only medical center and damaged testing equipment. Insurance claims were submitted, but then everything was put on hold while the Saskatchewan Health Authority seized that opportunity to review the status of the lab services. The Integrated Care Center serves the surrounding area. Now people must drive to Fort Capel or even an hour away to Regina to get simple x-rays and blood tests. And with no work, some of the laboratory staff have retired, meaning vacancies need to be filled.
Like any place in small town Saskatchewan, healthcare is kind of part of the lifeblood of the town.
The SHA's review is ongoing. The town says the government promised to reopen lab services by the start of August, but it hasn't. In a statement, the Minister of Rural and Remote Health says, "I understand the frustration of the community and that communication should have been better." Everett Hindley says he is committed to restoring lab services in the town, but says that will take some time and will need to be done in a phased approach as the replacement of equipment, potential retrofitting, and recruitment of the vacant position permit. This week, the town of Balcarres was approached about another meeting with provincial officials.
Meetings aren't going to solve this problem. Somebody actually needs to do something. He needs to hire the staff that have been lost to retirement, and they need to get out there and buy that equipment, get it set up in the lab, whatever process they need to go through to get that certified. It's pretty straightforward.
For the town of Balcarres, the process has already taken long enough. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority is apologizing for any stress or anxiety caused by the temporary closure of the child psychiatric unit in Prince Albert. This comes after the city's only child psychiatrist quit. The inpatient unit at Victoria Hospital used to have 2 psychiatrists and 10 beds for children and teens dealing with mental health disorders and psychosis. Recently, though, there's been just 1 psychiatrist and 5 operational beds. And as of now, there's none. Older teens will be treated in the adult unit. Children will be transferred south to Saskatoon or Regina. Child psychiatrists say it's creating additional pressure on the remaining 20 beds in the whole province.
There's really not a lot of wiggle room or stretch when we need to flex to accommodate more patients. So it has really a ripple effect for lots of different areas. It means that kids are waiting longer in the emergency departments, waiting for a bed.
There's going to be kids without a bed. There's going to be kids in beds that aren't the ideal spot for them. There might be kids staying in emergency, waiting for a bed to open up. Maybe if there's room on the pediatric ward, maybe they'll stay there if there is room.
There's this increased pressure to perhaps feel like we need to discharge kids earlier than we otherwise would, or not admit kids who we otherwise would, when we know that beds are scarce.
We already have a suicide crisis in the north and in many places, and so we may lose some kids. That's the simple fact of that's why we're doing our job, to try and prevent that from happening. But one, we may lose some kids. In addition to that, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we lose as few or no or none, right? But to then suffer and go along without getting the help you need from this degree of mental distress, like that has an impact down the road for years and years. Underserviced kids become underserviced adults.
It really has a pretty big ripple effect.
The doctors say the SHA needs to recruit 3 child psychiatrists and other mental health professionals to share the workload in Prince Albert. The SHA says it will be challenging because of a severe shortage. It's been 103 years since the federal government stole land from the Muskeg Lake Cree Nation north of Saskatoon. Now it's reached a financial settlement with the band. The Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, Mark Miller, was in the community today for the announcement. In 1919, Muskeg Lake surrendered nearly 9,000 acres of reserve land to help Canada to help settle veterans returning home from the First World War. Today's settlement is just under $128 million.
I think there is a formal moment to be observed on behalf of Canada, and I'm glad you're considering this to be a celebratory day, because this is something that should never have happened. And has taken 100 years to fix.
The First Nation says the money is currently in its trust account and will be distributed to the community on a per capita, per member basis. The opposition NDP and some local business owners are asking the government to walk back a recent increase to power and energy rates. Tim and Amy Weisgarber say they're not sure their clothing store and coffee shop will survive. NDP MLA Alina Young says small businesses are struggling with soaring inflation and recent rate hikes from Sask Power and Sask Energy.
We have 80% of businesses in Saskatchewan talking about how it is hard, desperately challenging for them to stay solvent, and citing government-imposed costs and fees as the reason for this.
We want to provide good value and consistency, and this makes that a challenge.
Is this worth it? At what point do we say our personal lives are more important than our passion and our business?
Young says the government should follow the lead of other provinces that have introduced financial breaks. Finance Minister Donna Harpower was asked about cost of living rebates back in June, and she said the government would wait until this month before making any decisions. Harpower says the government will not spend money it does not have. Saskatchewan farmers are looking for clarity on the federal government's goal to reduce fertilizer-related emissions. 3 Conservative Party MPs met with farmers and agricultural organizations in Regina today. They share significant concerns about the Liberal government's goal to see fertilizer-related emissions cut by 30% by the year 2030. The government is holding some consultations this summer, but producers and politicians at the meeting say setting an arbitrary goal without giving farmers more information won't help.
We feed so much of the world, and we have so many customers worldwide that count on our product that it's got to have, it's got to be part of the conversation as to how sustainable some of these reductions would be as far as sustainability for our export markets and really our customers from around the world.
The frustration with this is, what is this arbitrary number, this 30% that they've come up with? Where did it come from? Why that number? And are you giving them any other wiggle room or discussion on how we can reach that?
Barlow and Regina MPs Andrew Scheer and Warren Steinley say they will take the concerns they've heard back to Ottawa. The Saskatchewan NDP have chosen a candidate for an upcoming by-election in Saskatoon. Nathaniel Teed was chosen from 3 other candidates to represent the NDP in the Saskatoon-Meewasin seat. If that riding sounds familiar, it's because it was held by former NDP leader Ryan Miley until he vacated it when he resigned as leader in June. Miley himself won the seat narrowly in the 2020 provincial election. Teed is a small business owner and former educator. The Saskatchewan Party has yet to nominate its candidate. A date for the by-election has not yet been set. This summer has been filled with thunderstorms, some severe and some not so much. But not all places in our province seem to be getting hit by these storms equally. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams explains why.
You've probably seen it before. A juicy thunderstorm is headed right toward the city or town where you live. Then just as it's about to hit, it dissipates or splits around you. Well, it turns out there might be a reason for this. One researcher I spoke with looked at thunderstorms in an urban area, and he noticed this same splitting pattern. So why does it happen? Cities are often hotter than surrounding rural areas. Buildings, pavement, and even air pollution in cities can trap heat. This can affect incoming thunderstorms.
And so as the storms are approaching, they see these two different air masses, one away from the city and one over the city. And they two sort of collide with each other and they create a front and they just go around it.
Some research has shown that cities can even create thunderstorms or intensify them.
If you add heat to the system, that should increase or destabilize the atmosphere. So could lead to greater storms forming, especially downstream of a city.
There's another phenomenon called virga that could also explain why cities sometimes get mist. Virga is when rain falls from a cloud but evaporates before hitting the ground. And the heat that cities give off can impact this.
If you have a fairly widespread warm rain event spanning the city and the surrounding countryside, you are more likely to see the rain evaporating over the city than over the surrounding countryside because the city is warmer and its air drier.
Now, this doesn't happen with every single thunderstorm. Lots of times it's just the luck of the draw or location. But experts do say that by changing our traditional civic infrastructure, we could change our precipitation patterns. By adding things like trees on rooftops and lighter colored pavement when constructing roads, summer storms may be more enticed rather than repelled by our cities. Ethan Williams, CBC News, Regina.
And a live look now at the Queen City X, now underway in Regina. The gates opened up yesterday and the annual event runs right through the weekend. Tonight, Regina's own Tesher will take the main stage for a concert, followed by Jason Derulo. Ethan will join us from the X after the break with a full forecast. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
Welcome back. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now from the land of rides and mini donuts. How is the Queen City X?
Well, it's pretty good, Sam. You know, I haven't quite mustered up the courage to try the Kraft Dinner soft serve quite yet, but I hear the Oreo fried rice is quite nice, so I might have to try that before we're done here. But we're starting to get a little bit of rain here this evening, and we are seeing some storms across the province. Let's take a look now at our watches and warnings map, and you can see severe thunderstorm watches in place for west central and southeastern Saskatchewan, but we are mainly concerned about the tornado watch in orange there around Meadow Lake, and a tornado warning is now in place for an area just around the Meadow Lake area. In fact, Environment Canada saying that a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is now about 8 kilometers west of Chittick Lake, and it is moving to the northeast at about 20 kilometers an hour. So if you are in Chittick Lake, you should take shelter in the lowest floor of your home, away from doors and windows, most interior room if you can. And in addition to this, we are also looking at very large hail and wind gusts over 100 kilometers an hour as well. Now, temperature-wise, quite a spread in the province. That heat really building into the south of the province today, but a big spread through the northern and central portions of the province as we see that low pressure system that is really shaking things up. Temperature still close to 30 degrees, even over that in the south of the province at this hour, but that will not be sticking around for much longer. And wind gusts, it has been a very windy day for those of us in the area of that low pressure system in northwestern and west central Saskatchewan and the southwest. Those gusts likely going to pick up as well. And here's why. We are looking at a low pressure system that's bringing all this rain to the northern portion of the province, which has now begun. That cold front and occluded front that you see there are what's bringing those storms and that unstable weather to the west central part of the province. After that moves out tonight, heavy rain continues to fall through the Churchill region before it begins to move out as we head through Friday or tomorrow, and then we finally do get some clearing as we head through Saturday. Let's take a look at precipitation amounts now for central Saskatchewan, or for the Churchill region, close to 40 millimeters in some places. La Ronge area getting close to around 30, but really outside of there, we're not looking at too much. Wind gusts staying with us as we head into tomorrow as well. That low pressure system bringing gusts through the night, tonight and tomorrow afternoon. They could be between 50 and 70 kilometers an hour out of the west and southwest. As we head into Saturday, though, in terms of winds, it looks like we will start to get a bit of a break. The north will be the gustiest location, but even at that point, they will not be quite as strong as we have seen them over the past couple of days. A big cool down in store for the south part of the province, including Regina tomorrow, with highs only around 20 degrees over the next couple of days. But then, as you can see, that warm up over the next few days beginning, and we are going to stay nice and dry. For Saskatoon, a very similar forecast. Again, very windy gusts tomorrow as we head through the rest of the week. And if you are coming down here tonight to the Queen City X, Sam, it looks like we could see a chance of thunderstorms, but as of right now, just some cloud cover, a little bit of wind, but not too bad of a night.
Sounds like a good night for a concert. Thanks, Ethan.
All you kids, you can take pictures with it, you can touch it, you can do whatever. You just can't lift it, so that's kind of the only rule.
Lifting the Stanley Cup, of course, is reserved for those who win it. There's a full afternoon of activities with the Cup in White City today, thanks to Ryan Murray, the defenseman with the championship-winning Colorado Avalanches from White City, just east of Regina. On top of photos with Murray and the Cup, people also got to try their hand at a slap shot competition. The Cup will be in Saskatoon tomorrow. We'll be back after the break. This coming weekend, the Regina Folk Festival will take over Victoria Park. Saskatchewan's own Belle Plaine will perform on the main stage on Saturday. Peter Mills caught up with her to learn more about her process and her new song.
She's an award-winning singer-songwriter. She was raised near the tiny village of Foston, Saskatchewan, now in the capital city. In fact, we're in downtown Regina right now. She's one of the province's finest storytellers, musicians. She's Belle Plaine, and she's with me now.
We might be a love story, though not one you would see. Between two stars in Hollywood on your flat screen.
One thing I've been thinking about a lot is I've been reading your work and listening to your music, and I know you mentioned this once. Do you do a lot of daydreaming?
Sure do. Of tours, of places I want to go to, of stages I want to play, people I want to meet. Places I've been, you know, revisiting those places in my daydreams.
You love to watch the reruns and smoke 2 packs a day. When I went through all the trouble.
Whether it's painting a landscape with words or a poem about neighbors that you recently posted on social media, how much does just observing life inspire your music?
That is it. I'm not great at making up stories. I'm good at recounting things, and I find that that's where I'm most comfortable. So making those observations and sharing them in the way that I feel is as honest as I can make it, or as best as I can, you know, fill in those parts that I might not be aware of. That's where I feel like my work sits the best in me.
Resolutions all ignored, and we found us an apartment on the 2nd floor.
Well, the song you're performing for us, 2 packs a day, I think is observational. What's the inspiration behind that song?
My neighbors, yeah. I have, we live in a place where we have a fire escape, and it operates as like a little patio hangout. And when I moved in, I just was really struck every morning by whenever I had my window open, my room would be filled with cigarette smoke. Often there would be IMAX levels volume of MASH playing, and then that turned into Little House on the Prairie, and then it, I don't know, Rawhide, I think. And it was our neighbor whose living room window opened up onto the patio. My bedroom window opens up onto it, and he would be watching TV and smoking cigarettes, and I just got to know these two people over many years of living next to them. Became really like honest and sharing stories, and eventually things progressed where he became ill and he passed away, and all the stories that I knew just expanded into this more intimate view of him when his wife shared more and more and more. And I was just getting filled with these stories, and I remember walking down Albert and I was just like, oh, well, I just have to write a song about them, and then I'll have a record of these things that she shared with me in addition to my own memories. So I wrote a love song, which is not my go-to.
So beginning of next month, we'll take a road trip headed west. And
she's a woman of like sturdy character, and there were some tears, just very, very quiet, private tears. And she said, well, he's gonna thank you for that. You came along at the right time. And I said, oh, what do you mean? And they like to really kind of rib each other. And she said, I just got another bill for something of his, and I thought I'm gonna flush those ashes down the toilet. And she's like, so he owes you what? And I thought, oh, okay, that's good. It's good to know that, it's all in fun, but it was, they've been great. She's been a great neighbor. He was a real character to get to know, and it's fun to write something for them that immortalized that.
runs and smoke, 2 packs a day.
Sunshine tomorrow morning in Regina at 17 degrees at 8 a.m. Those winds starting to pick up out of the west, and by the time we hit the noon hour, we are almost pretty much at our daytime high. 21 degrees, some sunny conditions, but again, winds will gust between 50 and 60 kilometers an hour tomorrow afternoon. In Saskatoon at 8 a.m., a little bit more cloud cover. Those winds still pretty gusty out of the west, mainly sunny conditions at 16. We're looking for 18 degrees by the time we get to noon, and that is pretty much our daytime high in Saskatoon as well. Those gusts of wind already over 60 kilometers an hour. If you're coming down to the Queen City X here this evening, Saskatchewan's own Tesher takes the stage at 8:30 this evening. It's a little cloudy and rainy here right now, but we're expecting those to clear a bit with some gusty winds, and then Jason Derulo will take the stage at 9:45. And just a reminder before we go, a tornado warning in effect for the arm of Big River, including Chittick Lake. That storm is just to the northeast of Chittick Lake right now and is moving to the northeast, so seek shelter if you are in the area, Sam.
All right, thanks, Ethan. Go grab some of that Oreo rice. And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can always head to our website, or you can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. That's where you can find the full video of Belle Plains' song, 2 Packs a Day. Ethan will be back here with more local news and weather at 11. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.